Yo, 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 what is up? Joshua Casper back at you with another Ableton Live video tutorial. Today we're going to be learning how to make a reggae palm slash sub bass instrument rack. And we're going to save it so we can have it ready for whenever. And this is what it's going to sound like when we're done. I've just got this reggae MIDI in here. And this is what it sounds like. Okay, and I've got it turned up a bunch just so you guys can hear it, but this is just some regular reggae stuff in the background. But we're going to concentrate on this instrument rack. Now, the instrument rack is free for download, and I suggest you do it if you have three things that you'll need that does not come in like a Ableton Live Lite pack. It comes in the suite. You're going to need the bass amplifier, or just amp. In the audio effects amp, you're going to need this bad boy, which comes in the suite. If you have it, if you don't, you might need to grab it. You don't need it if you're going to follow along with the tutorial, but it just adds a little bit of spice to the palm bass, which is from the pack guitar and bass from the Ableton Live website. That's another thing you're going to need if you don't have it. Again, though, if you have the Ableton Live suite, you should already have it. If you don't, you can go download it for free from the site. And if you don't have the suite, then you're going to need a palm-sounding bass, which sounds like this if I solo it. That's what the kind of bass guitar sound you're looking for. It sounds legit. It sounds authentic. It doesn't sound synthesized. Also, I'm going to be using Operator for the sub, so if you don't have the suite, you need to go grab that, or you can use something like Massive or any other VST just to get a clean sub sound. But that's what I'm going to use because I found this gives me the best sound, or closest to the sound that I want, and I want to share with you guys the best that I can get instead of always trying to dilute everything to free VSTs and stock instruments, because if you're really invested in music, then you need to actually literally invest money into music, which is, it's just part of it. If you want great sounds cost money. You know what I mean? That's not to knock free VSTs, VSTIs out there. I mean, there are plenty of good ones. But anyway, let's just jump right in and get started. I'm going to go ahead and delete this and show you how to make that bad boy. So the first thing I'm going to do is come into Instruments and drag an instrument rack onto the channel here. I'm going to open it up and I'm going to come into Instruments and Operator, and I'm just going to use a bass preset because I always go to that for my sub bass. Just drop it in there. Boom. And then the next thing I'm going to do is come to the packs, and I'm just going to drop the guitar bass, come into that pack. Sounds, bass, and I'm going to use the palm, electric bass palm. Drop that on there. Come back to the Operator sub bass and come into audio effects and come into EQ8. And what I'm going to do is drop it onto the channel here. Okay, I'm not going to try to do it over here because it needs to be on the outside, which is right here. But just to be sure, I'm going to drop it onto the channel selector here, which is going to add it to the end and not to the instrument rack here, because if I add it to the instrument rack that's inside of our instrument rack, the hip-hop sub-bass instrument rack, I can't map the frequency, which is what I'm going to do in a second here. I can't map it to the main macro knobs here. If I try to do it inside of this instrument rack, I'd try to map to these macros, which are already mapped out, and we don't want to get overcrowded in there. So now that I have that done, what I'm going to do is make a bandpass filter for the sub and for the palm. So the first thing I'm going to do is come into here, and I'm going to negative times 4 the curve here. And then I'm going to come into the frequency and right click and map to macro 1, and I'm going to pull that up to about let's do 80. Okay, And the next thing I'm going to do is come into the mode and mid-side, and just, I'm going to map the distortion here to a macro knob so we can add distortion to the sub, but I want it to be centered distortion. So what I'm going to do is come into here and just pull this over like this. So now the deep subby stuff will not be coming out of the periphery on the sound system, and that's a good thing. You never want deep sub on the periphery of an audio channel. You want it nice and centered, and that's what we've done right here. So I want to come back into the electric bass, or actually let's map some of these first. I'm going to want to map the attack to, let's do 5, release to 6, and let's do distortion to macro 7. Oh, and one more thing on this channel, we're going to drop a limiter on the end of it again. I'm going to use this, just drop it right here so it puts it right on the end. Come to the gain and put it on macro 8 and bring it up to 0. And that looks pretty good. I'm going to turn the release up a little bit and the attack up a little bit and the distortion up just a tad. So let's see what we got so far. So that's pretty sweet, right? We don't have to worry about those high notes. Those high notes are going to be better played through the electric bass up here. Don't worry about it. I'm going to show you everything. So that's pretty cool. The next thing I'm going to do is come into the electric bass. Okay, minimize this. And I'm going to put the amp on there. And I'm just going to use a preset, the bass roundup. And again, I'm going to drop it right here, so it's on the outside of that embedded instrument rack. And the other thing we can do here too is take the volume and put it to macro 2 and bring it up to 0. And the volume here to macro 3 and bring it up to 0. And we can start labeling things as well. I'm going to write frequency split here. I'm going to write sub vol here, palm vol here, attack, I'm just going to write sub in front of there. I'm just doing a control on a PC, it's just control R to rename things. And I'm just going to write, I'm going to delete this, oops. Come in front, and just write sub. Cool, and gain, I'm just going to leave it titled gain. And on the sub bass roundup here, I'm just going to take the dry wet and map it to macro 4 and call it palm amp. Okay, and I'm going to pull it up. So if I solo this now, sweet, and just follow along with what I did there and adjust it to your preferences. And the next thing I'm going to do is I got to put the EQ8 on that channel too, and I'm just going to use that 4 again, and I'm going to map the frequency to the frequency splitter, which is going to leave it at 80. So now I've done this trick a bunch of times before, but now when I move this, it lines up with the sub. So I'm never losing any frequency, but I'm just it's a bandpass filter. So this will come out and it's never going to overlap with the bass from the palm. Okay? I hope that makes sense. So that's good. And again, I'm just going to put a limiter on it. Right on the end, right here. And map that to the gain. And that should do it. Let's come outside and just see what it sounds like. Okay, and now the next thing I'm going to do is, as you can hear, the sub is playing a little bit too high, and that's because the way the operator is set up, the sub bass is at 0, so I want like everything in the 0 range and only come up to 2 for very high notes. So right now it's kind of conflicting because I want the electric bass to be playing in the 1 area here on the MIDI keyboard. So like the F1 is a good sound for the palm bass, but it's too high for the sub bass. And there's a quick way to go ahead and fix that. We come into the sub bass here, and I'm going to come into MIDI effects, pitch, and just take it to the -12. And now that's going to shift that down to give us that sub bass. Okay, so now you come in and unmute this and now play it. And now is when you want to come over to your macros and kind of adjust everything to make it sound nice. Cool, and I think that sounds pretty good. I think that sounds pretty much like the original. And the next thing you want to do is come in and color code, because it's the funnest part of making racks. This is why I make racks, just to come in and color code. But obviously I'm not color coding that nicely right now. I should be though, right? Anyway, that's pretty much it, depending on how you like to color code stuff. And the next thing you'd want to do is hit this little save button, which will allow you to save this rack so you have it ready to go. But anyway, I hope that helped. I hope you learned something, and I hope you like that new reggae sub bass. I think it sounds great, and I've already used it in 2 tunes sent out to vocalists, so maybe have a little reggae AP coming out pretty soon. Anyway, rate, subscribe, comment, you know the drill, and we will see you next time.